So, I wanted to bring a video to you guys of a long time I've been without talking to my audience, and a lot of things have progressed and changed over the time, and it's hard to express how it's changed me. It's changed how I think of things, but for the most part, I'm still digging through to what I believe in. Um, I've foregone my agnostic beliefs in religion because I feel Christianity is the positive path for a better future. I don't think agnostic gets you there. I don't think atheism gets you there, or any other religion, but Christianity. I didn't have a come to Jesus moment or anything like that. I've already lost my father. I spent time with my mom, and I raised my two kids here at home with me. But it's all been like paved in the way I didn't even have to pave it. It was just gonna happen naturally. So, between the times of me divorcing my wife in 2012, 2013, and coming back home to Michigan, my dad passes away. Immediate inheritance, take over the house, take over the household. Single dad, 4 kids. And then I spent a year trying to get a job, which struggled. And then I finally got one. But it asked so much of my life, all the hours of my waking day, between working a 3rd-hour shift at a high, prominent corporation and still getting my kids to daycare and then to school and then back to daycare and then me picking them up, and then cycle repeats. Single father. Tough stuff. So it's hard to deal with. And I empathize with all single parents out there who have to deal with the same struggles. But over this time, I also, because I was away from a non-stop lifestyle of working that I learned, the things that we took for granted and what could be challenged were being kind of cast aside into another realm where it's not something we're supposed to look into. But as more of time has progressed, it's more and more true that what we casted aside has become reality. So, the videos on my channel show me as agnostic belief. I'm full on Christian now. because I don't need someone out there in control, but I have no responsibility in taking part of what's happening, kind of feel. With a Christian belief, I understand what's going out in the world, and I have a part. I have a piece of that action to play a part in. And whether you do good or whether you don't, doesn't matter, but at least you put effort in to trying to make everything better. Makes Christianity better than everything else I was looking at. So, we went through COVID, we went through all these assassination attempts. We went through the CRT, DEI stuff, and how it upset both sides of the political spectrum, and why it was never questioned beyond that of, well, who brought this on and why? That was never discussed through either political parties. It was more of, they're just bad because they do that, And so we don't fix our problems. I wish things were better for all of us. I know we're all in different phases of life. We're going through a struggle, we're not, or we're feeling blessed, or we're not. And we have to meter that and enjoy it when we get it. And try to show gratitude when we don't and pay it forward. As best you can with whatever means you have. But I've come to a very big point in my life where I studied law. I know how law is. I know how corrupt it's become. And I swore my oath to a law behaving a certain way. When it doesn't behave that way, who's to blame? It should be me. And everybody who also swore their oath. I went through videos of talking about judges who swear their oaths to the Constitution as is required, but a lot of them don't. And the remedy for legality and civilization is we try to keep silent during the initial interaction with the government. We bring to court the evidence we have showing discrepancies, whether it's procedural of what they didn't follow their own rules, or circumstantial, which is things outside the limits of rules that were prescribed that could say this may also meet the means of legal determination. And also, none of that has to do with constitutional rights. Because for some reason, that argument is casted all the way to the highest court. Only they can decide whether something is constitutionally copacetic, it's behaving in accordance to, or not, So, which is not the way the Constitution was set up, but it gave them the opportunity to do so. And our attorneys are trained up to feel that, well, courts have powers because of court cases and all that, and what is decided. This is called case law. It's called somewhat jurisprudence, and also they'll let the rule lie. It's like something decisis. It's like stasis decisis. Something like that, where if there's a previous ruling and they found it right, we should honor that tradition as well, unless there's circumstantial elements that would overrule that. So, how do you get from bare bones U.S. citizen fighting for your rights to U.S. Constitutional Supreme Court? It is enormous. And a lot of the times you can get blocked by judges. I'm not going to hear the case. I don't want to hear the case. Why do they know they have the right to do that? And are they following the rules to do that? Most of the times, no. We just let it slide because nobody's trained to know the wiser, which I found out through my cases. If you have a problem you're going to face off with the government, you have to be willing to go all the way to Supreme Court. So, let's just say Michigan. Here, I filed for a federal court case against the state of Michigan. That is a immediate, I think it was $400 filing, just to file. And then if they say no, you can go to appeal. The appeal cost $500. If the appeal doesn't approve or whatever, you go to Supreme Court. That's another, I think, $300. And then you in that time would have to have an attorney who's willing to go all the way up the chain of ladder to a Supreme Court case over something that's so small in their eyes. And most of them not willing to do it. I've tried to hire attorneys on the federal level for my cases, and they all said no. So I don't know if they're trained to not take certain cases. But it definitely seems like it. And I worked at this for years. From 2014, 2015, all the way up to 2020, 2021. All that. 5-6 years researching. I have, college law books. I've shown it before. I looked up what each college was training for our attorneys, and it seems to be more prevalent that they are trained to obfuscate constitutional rights and protect the system that is in place. And they don't want to take cases that are going to overthrow that thing because it's going to ruin their career. So, the attorneys become privatized, but they're trained by the state. They're trained to only know a narrow realm of law. And even if they try to go outside that, they will be challenging a judge's decision they've made on hundreds to thousands of cases before. They would have to overturn thousands of cases they've done. That would prove the government wrong and the people right. They're not going to allow that to happen. So, what we think of as a fair and judicial system is fake. It's dead. It's destroyed. It's owned. And it's a means to control, from what I see. To control the way people get to try to adjudicate their matters, to try to argue with the government. It's already controlled. It's already owned. It's privatized by the Bar Association to say, we're not going to cater to these types of discussions because these judges want to get promoted. Now, once you're in the Supreme Court, there's no higher court to get promoted to. But once you're out of that job, where do you go? Well, you go back to a judgeship, maybe a district attorney, all these other things. So you're still stuck in the loop. You're still stuck in the curriculum. Which means our legal system cannot provide U.S. constitutional rights to United States citizens. It is set up foundationally, structurally, procedurally to maintain its status quo to where it maintains power, nothing can challenge it, and it will always be that the U.S. citizen will never be able to undo the rights that have been taken from them ever. So, courts, failure. Political, failure. Nobody's going to fix this problem. Nobody knows how to even fix this problem. Trump, everybody, stupid. They're so dumb, ignorant, narcissistic. That's who they want in the limelight. If you think Trump's there because some radical belief wants him there and he's going to overthrow religion, that's the dumbest thing ever. And that's exactly what they want you to think. He is a puppet. Wholeheartedly, completely. Knows nothing. even all these podcasters, Republican, Democrat, know jack shit about law, about how this country was set up, how it was supposed to be, how people were supposed to have the power over the government through land patent. They don't know that. They're White House correspondents turn into podcasters or, big, huge multimedia people who turned code and now they're speaking the truth. No, they're not. None of them. They've all failed. 1,000%. And there's a community that's been talking about this on the internet for at least a decade now of explaining what's going on with our legal system, what's going on with the political system, and our foreign policy and all that, and it got no attention. Except for CIA telling everybody it's just conspiracies. Because CIA doesn't create conspiracies. No, they don't do that. Ever. Ever. When people tell me, thank you for your veteran service and all that, I immediately have to tell them thank you as well. But in my heart and in my mind, I'm thinking, you have no idea. You have no idea what's going on. And I'm literally only wearing the hat because I don't have a good hat to wear. I wouldn't wear this one if I didn't have to. All my other hats are destroyed. But that one's got my rank on it. Let's see if I can point to it with a mirror. That was my rank when I left. With the reserves. But I was at E5 all through active. 12 years into the reserves. Got the E6. And then I left right before COVID. I already knew where things were going. So, and I don't do activism because I always see how, even if you want to do it, even if you get all this garnered support and you go display this amount of attention to whoever and you put on the big display and everybody gets noticed, there's still outliers in there and they corrupt that whole thing and they turn it into shit. So activism is gone. Legal battles are gone. That's why I've been gone. It's not safe anymore. So where are we? If I try to have a big outrage on social media, guess what? There's no protection there anymore either. So, what do? Get off the internet. Get back with your people and get to church. Because that's the one thing they hate. Is us getting together. And us taking care of each other. And not letting the government take care of us.